Hey!
Hey, Adam.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, you were air drumming backstage.
I was.
Today.
Yeah, I was doing
Little
my choreography.
Look, you were a little finger snapping, foot stomping, and air drumming.
As you do. Yeah.
So let's talk about the original High, and of course, I mean not the third album by Adam Lambert, but the first time you got high.
Well, what I've decided to talk about when I talk about the first time getting high is the first time that I was on stage and the high that I felt when I was in front of an audience for the first time. Because that really actually is the first wild adrenaline rush that I got from performing.
And this is going back to when you were a kid
like
doing theater?
9 or 10, yeah.
Do you remember what it was?
I was doing the first musical that I did in San Diego where I grew up was You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. And I was playing Linus with the blanket. And I had my own song, and I remember the audience reaction and that feeling of being on stage and kind of having this, first of all, getting the attention. I was kind of an attention whore kind of kid. But I liked the interaction energetically. I liked that I could do something and elicit a reaction, and then they were feeding me and I was feeding them, and I was hooked from the first time.
What is the Linus song in Your Good Man?
I don't remember now.
Oh,
it's something like My Blanket or something, or my... there's a Kite song, but that's Charlie Brown. Blanket and Me. So thank you.
Wow, okay.
Is this one of the Tisch school kids here? No. You just know the show.
You did a lot of theater.
Yeah.
Have you ever been tempted to follow that as an adult? You must get the offers.
Oh, I did it for a long time as an adult.
But I mean now, to go to Broadway, to do that kind of...
Yeah, there's been some talk and some offers, but I think right now I'm focusing on music. I did a lot of theater up until age 27. So I feel like in some ways that was that chapter and this is this chapter, but I'm sure it'll come back around. I'm sure if it's the right thing at the right time. I have a lot of respect for the theater community. I have a lot of friends that are still in the theater community, and with the right show, it could be really cool.
So the original High, your third album, described often as a departure for you, but you've been working with the executive producers on this record, Max Martin and Shellback, since your first album. Yeah,
Max Martin produced What Do You Want From Me, and Shellback produced If I Had You, the follow-up hit. So in a way, it's kind of coming back around to them. And in some ways, What Do You Want From Me had certainly a lot more guitar than this album has in it in general, but emotionally, I think it's kind of a familiar, kind of similar sentiment emotionally. It's angsty, it's about real feelings, it's asking a simple question. I think some of that vibe kind of continued on this album.
Well, there's a song like There I Said It, which I think is oh, hold on, we're going to take a break for coffee.
Oh, thank you. Cheers. I don't know what's in this little cup here.
Hold on.
That's a coffee cup with water, and this is a water cup with coffee.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah. Very fluid cup identity up here.
Yeah.
But I was just saying, a song on the new record like There I Said It, I think is one of the most personal songs I've heard from you.
Yeah, I like that I have an anthem on this album that's kind of you know what? I'm going to stop making apologies. I'm going to be who I'm going to be. And I'm going to be defiant about it.
Yeah, but dude, what apologies? You've been being who you want to be for a minute now.
Yeah, but I don't think I've really sung about it this way. Huh. You know what I mean? I think the way that it's put in this song, I don't really have any songs like this in my catalog. So I don't know. I think it applies to my relationship to the public and the media, but I also think it's personal. It relates to some personal relationships that I've had in the past, both romantic, but also friendships or, familial relationships. And like most of the songs on the album, I think the idea is that, yeah, they're personal and they're about my life, but I really wanted songs to be relatable. I wanted a lot of different types of people, because my fan base is very diverse. I wanted all these different types of people to be able to find themselves in each of the songs. So it was a little bit tricky figuring that out, but that's what I'm so proud about with this album, is that it's specific, but it's broad. So, yeah.
Now, when you went to work on this record, you went to Sweden.
Yeah, for 2 months.
And you made the choice to go to Sweden in the wintertime.
That wasn't really my choice. If I could have had a choice, I would have been there in the summer. I was there actually 2 weeks ago, and it was beautiful out.
The summer is the right time to go.
Yeah.
In the wintertime, the sun comes up around 10.
For a little while, yeah. Just
around
for a
10
little
in the
while.
morning, sets around 2:30 or 3.
Yeah, it's dark. Yeah.
What was it like working there?
Well, besides the dark and cold, which I think kind of contributed to the moodiness of this album, it was interesting because I don't have a social life there. I don't know a lot of people there. I was meeting writers that are under this name, the Wolf Cousins.
And you don't seem like the kind of guy who makes friends easily.
I hate people. I was focused on work though, and it was great actually because there was no distractions. And Max and Shellback work with a collective of writers and producers out there called the Wolf Cousins, and they are so cool. These were like just very down to earth, warm, creative people. And I would go to the studio almost every day, and we would just kind of throw ourselves into something and let's try this, let's try that. And I would move around to different. They had a couple different studios within this complex, and I would like sit in one room for an hour or two, throw some ideas around. Then someone would work. I would go to another room, work on something else. It was great.
It's definitely the most unified record you've made. Of a mood. Your first 2 records are more, to stick with the Swedish theme, a smorgasbord of different pop styles. But I mean, you're working with a lot of luminaries on those records. You recorded with Tove Lo for this record. Mm-hmm. Did you meet her in Sweden?
Yeah. We started writing Rumors about the 3rd day I was there. That was one of the first things we did. The instrumental had been developed, and I loved it. And we sat down. There was a melody idea that Shellbuck had suggested that we sat with him on, and Tove and I, or Tove, as
they say in Sweden.
It's supposed to be Tove Lo, by the way, but the American record label that she's on was like, no one knows how to say it.
Well, no one knows how to say it, and she's accepted that we say it this way here because
Tove.
We refuse to change our
minds. Yeah, right. So yeah, and this girl is like so humble, down to earth, cool, very like sweet and fun. It was like I felt like I had known her a long time upon first meeting her, and we started writing the first day, and we were talking about the music industry and talking about traveling all the time and becoming a celebrity because of it. And her song Habits hadn't become a huge hit yet. It had come out in Sweden and people liked it, but it wasn't what it became. So she was kind of looking ahead going, well, what's this going to be like for me? And we started talking, and I said, well, do you have good people in your life, and do you have a relationship, and how, and we were talking about the balance between your public life and your private life, and that's how Rumors was written.
Of course, the first single is Ghost Town.
Mm-hmm.
There's a song on the new Madonna record named Ghost Town.
Mm-hmm.
You guys been in touch on that?
You're the first person that's talked about that. My gosh.
But I mean, when that happens, are you like, wait, oh, come on?
Yeah, I was. The song was my Ghost Town was mixed, and we had already decided it was the first single, and everything was lined up, and the plan was put together. And I was on a little vacation in December, and in Mexico. Had a couple margaritas. I opened my laptop, looked at iTunes, and I'm like, I love Madonna. I guess her thing came out early because of leaks. Oh gosh, poor thing. Okay, let me see what it is. And I see the track listing, and I see Ghost Town, and I was like, wait a minute, wait. How did this happen? Because I have some common people with, like, I've worked with some of her dancers and musicians, and I'm a big fan of Madonna for years, since I was a kid. So I just thought, what a strange coincidence. And I think that's all it is, what is it they say, that there's the collective subconscious? I don't know how it happened.
The police called it synchronicity.
Something.
A little of that.
Yeah.
Sure. So I have read that this record came out on a new label. You're on Warner Brothers. Mm-hmm. And that your departure at RCA came about after 2 very successful records. Someone at the label suggested you do an 80s covers record. Is this true?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we got to the bottom of that.
You know, I mean, look, I mean, the music industry there's no formula. I mean, well, sometimes there's one that they try to follow, but no one knows what's going to work and what's not going to work. And I have a lot of respect for the people at RCA. I mean, we had a good couple years together. Trespassing is an album that I felt was, full of really interesting music, and I worked really hard on it. And it was a long process, and I executive produced the album, and it had a lot of great music on it. But like you mentioned, there was a strong variety on the album, and I think that there was just a bit of we were on different sides of where we thought the album should go stylistically, including the singles that were released. And unfortunately, the singles didn't really connect at radio, which is the thing that nowadays really gives an album commercial life or not. And so, even though it was critically acclaimed, and even though we debuted at #1, thank you, Lamberts. Yeah. Unfortunately, it didn't have the life that I wanted it to have, or the label wanted it to have. So we kind of, decided, okay, well, this album cycle's over, and I went and I did some stuff with Queen over in the UK and in Europe, and then I came back to New York.
Some
stuff. We can get to that in a minute.
Some stuff?
Some stuff, yeah.
Okay.
We can get to that, yeah.
Okay.
So we'll get to that, yeah. But I came back to New York and had a meeting and sat with them, and they were like, so we have a great idea. I was like, okay. And I'm thinking, it's going to be producers they want to work with, and I had some ideas. I'm like, what about this person? What about this person? And they said, oh, we think you should do a cover album. And I was like, okay. And I thought about it, and I listened to what they had to say. I'm open. And I went home and I started kind of researching that. They were specifically talking about kind of new wave, early 80s. Not necessarily hair metal, it was like new wave. That's what they were going for. I think their heads probably were in the place of, well, Mad World was your big song on Idol. You like to dress kind of wild. We see you as an 80s kid. Let's go there. You're alternative. That's what it was in the new wave thing. Sexuality was something that was kind of part of that movement. So I sat and listened to the music, and to be honest with you, I knew I'm not a big expert on new wave. It wasn't something that I really listened to a lot of. There was definitely a couple of touchstone songs. Mad World's one. A couple of these. I know the groups. But I realized I don't really love this music. It's not resonating with me. It's not, I don't feel inspired here. And I went back to them and I said, guys, I'm just not feeling it. Maybe we should make a 70s rock album. Maybe we should make a 90s album, an alternative cover album. And they were like, no. And I said, yeah. And I thought about it some more. And I also realized I don't want to do a covers album. I did that on Idol. That's how I got here, was doing covers. And, I have just finished moonlighting with Queen for a while, doing covers, essentially. I'm like, no, I want to make an original album, an Adam Lambert album. So I said, peace.
So you mentioned Idol. Idol is going to go into its final season next year.
Mm-hmm.
You've been back to the show many times. Are you looking forward to coming back for the final season?
Yeah, I've been back every season, which has been really cool. Last season, I got to judge, which was really surreal. A little emergency judging thing here in New York. I hope that I get to go back next year. I always love going back because there's a lot of the same people that work on the show behind the scenes, and we all got along really well, and it's like a family over there.
So let's just talk for 1 second about that thing that you did with Queen.
Yeah.
That is music you grew up on and you relate to.
Not as a kid.
No?
Not really. I mean, I think I first heard Bohemian Rhapsody when I was a kid because of Wayne's World.
Right.
And of course, there's, the thing that's so amazing about Queen is that they have these hits that are so iconic that they are part of your life, even as a kid, but I didn't even know that they were Queen. Like, we Will Rock You, and We Are the Champions, Another One Bites the Dust. Like, I'd heard the big songs. But it wasn't until I got a little older and I started kind of falling in love with retro rock, and I started discovering the different bands and artists, which was probably in my early 20s when I went through that. That's when I was like, Freddie Mercury. And I started researching, and that's, I went on the internet and I started watching old videos of him, and I saw the Live Aid thing, and I was blown away. And he was one of my idols at that point. him and like David Bowie, Boy George, these male artists that were unabashedly flamboyant and pushed boundaries and were super creative and wore great clothes.
And what was it like stepping up and inhabiting those songs?
You know, this is something that that I had been working on for a while, because obviously I auditioned for Idol with Bohemian Rhapsody. They came on the finale and we did We Are the Champions. Definitely a connection at that point. And then they got in touch with me about a year later, and I did the MTV European Music Awards with them. That went really well. A couple months, year, I don't know what the timeline is. A little later, we ended up doing these shows in Eastern Europe, and 3 shows at the Hammersmith Apollo in London, which is one of their old stomping grounds. And that went really well. And then I came back and had that conversation with my label. And then we did something about 2 years ago at iHeartRadio in Vegas. We headlined one of the nights there and did a 25-minute set of their greatest hits. And something had changed, and I don't really know exactly why, but all of a sudden it clicked in a way that it hadn't clicked quite yet. I mean, we had done well previous to that, but it just all of a sudden like just meshed, and we all felt it. And I think for me personally, it had finally gotten in my body, the music, and I was really comfortable with it. I wasn't as intimidated by the idea of stepping into Queen. I was like, okay, we got this. And I think that's what's necessary to pull off that music. You have to be confident. And the confidence was there, and yeah, all of a sudden we had all these people coming up to us after that night saying, you got a tour. We had promoters that were interested, and we responded, and we put together a world tour.
There you go. And you do have to be confident. It's not we will rock you if that's okay with you.
We might rock you.
We might. Rocking is an option. We're going to take some questions from the audience.
Do I pick?
No, well, I guess you could.
Are we going to mic? Oh,
we have a mic going around.
Mic.
Yeah.
Oh, see, you've done so beautifully combining your solo career with your career fronting Queen. Have you hit any obstacles that your fans aren't aware of?
Any obstacles that my fans aren't aware of? That's interesting. Well, I mean, I think that I definitely, when the Queen tour thing came up, and then I knew that I wanted to create another album, I definitely talked to my management team about, like, can we do both things here? And when I started working on this album, knowing that stylistically it was so different from the classic rock of Queen, I asked the question, I'm like, is this going to be confusing for fans or the public? And we just talked about it, and you know, I have a tendency to overthink everything. I'm kind of nuts that way. And Max Martin in particular said, no, it's fine. He's so cool. He's like, it's fine. I said, okay, great. So yeah, I mean, I think it was just the choice to not make it an issue. Yeah. You're welcome.
I got a question for you.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah.
Huge fan, love your stuff. I know a lot of people in this room don't know this, but what was it like appearing on China's The Voice?
That was interesting. You know, that night, it was one of the finale. I think it was the finale of The Voice in China.
You were performing on
Yeah,
China's The Voice?
I did Trespassing, the title track of my last album out there. I think there was 500 million people that tuned in. I mean, it's China. There's so many people there. And it's funny because I I watched it back after we got back. You couldn't even hear my song, the music. All you could hear was the mic. It was like an a cappella performance. Someone didn't turn the track up all the way. So you heard like kind of a tempo, but there was no pitch. So it's just me out there like.
So it was kind of like the sing-off, but in China,
I don't know.
The Voice with 500 million people.
Someone didn't turn that up loud enough. Yeah, exactly.
The bonus tracks on this album are fantastic, These Boys.
Thank you.
My personal favorite. I was wondering in the future if you plan on performing them live in any situation, if that's sort of in your
If I had a crystal ball
yes.
and I knew the future, I would let you know. I don't know. I don't know what the future holds. I think the bonus tracks on this album are interesting because These Boys and Shame are definitely different than the rest of the album, and that's why they're bonus tracks. They're a bit more camp, kind of like stuff that I've done in the past. a little bit more akin to maybe the Queen stuff or, you know, the glam kind of vibe. They'll probably have a life at some point. They're really fun songs. Yeah. You're welcome.
Hi, Adam.
How are you? Hi.
In honor of Pride, I know that you've done a lot of work with the Trevor Project and It Gets Better and the Elton John AIDS Foundation. And I was wondering if you could talk about maybe a special memory from doing that charity work and what are your plans for Pride and can we join?
I think I need a list of all the things you just asked there. Well, for Pride, first of all, I'm going to be here next week, and I'm doing an event for Logo called Trailblazers. That should be really exciting. It's at a church, and I'm doing a performance. And then I think I might be making a club appearance after that, but that's not announced yet. Something for the boys.
So we'll just keep that here in the room.
I've had a great time working with those organizations in the past. I did 2 years in a row with AT&T, the Live Proud campaign, which I was really proud of. For me, it's been interesting getting into this business, and all of a sudden these words like role model kept being thrown at me, and I was like, oh, okay. I just want to be a pop star, at first. This is how I felt at first. And then I realized, well, it's you get out in front of people and you're going to affect people's lives, and it becomes about more than that. And after a little while of kind of getting comfortable with it in the very beginning, I realized, well, if I can affect some change and open people's minds up a little bit and make people feel stronger and braver and more comfortable with themselves, that's awesome. That's really cool. It's great to be able to give that. For all that's coming at me, it's great to be able to give back. So I'm going to continue working with these organizations. I don't know what the next thing is yet, but I'm sure there'll be something. Yeah.
Hi, Adam. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Your voice is amazing.
Thank you. I'll take it. Thank you. My whole family loves you. We consider you to be a great risk taker. What's the biggest risk that you think you've taken thus far in your career?
The biggest risk? Well, actually, auditioning for Idol was kind of the biggest risk because I was employed in a musical up until that point, Wicked. You know the musical Wicked? So I had done the first national tour. I had originated that company and then had left the company for a little while because I was not satisfied being in the chorus and I wanted to be a rock star. So I went back to LA and burned through all my money and was broke again and hadn't become a rock star. And then they had an LA company starting, and I begged to be a part of that company because I was like, I live right down the street from the theater. I need money so I can become a rock star. And so I did that for 2 years. And in order to audition for American Idol, I did the first open call up in San Francisco. And then in order to proceed to the next levels of competition, you have to assure them that you have no professional contracts or anything. You can't be affiliated with any you can't have any contracts signed because they need to be able to kind of have free reign over your everything. So I had to quit Wicked in order to do the second audition for Idol. I had no way of knowing if I was going to get through. I hadn't even seen Paula, Simon, and Randy yet. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was basically saying goodbye to like health insurance and unemployment, and it was a big risk. And I was really nervous about it because I was like,
how'd it work out?
I'm glad I took the risk.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really glad. But I remember saying to saying to the Idol producers, I was like, wait, so you want me to quit my job so that I can maybe get in front of your judges? Oh my God, yeah. So that was a huge risk, but I'm really happy that I took it. Yeah.
Great.
We have time for one more question.
There we go.
Hi, Adam.
Hi.
So I had a question. You mentioned about your American Idol style, how you dressed. Where do you draw your inspiration from for your fashion sense?
The internet? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I think early on, the more flamboyant stuff that I think I was wearing before, I was just, I was kind of a club kid in LA when I wasn't on stage doing theater. It was like I would do a show and then I would get dressed up even more and go out. For years, I used to wear costumes and crazy makeup and stuff like that. I used to think that every day was Halloween. And now it's just Halloween is Halloween. Yeah, I think I looked at people that I like from the past, people like Bowie and Boy George, like this androgyny thing that I was really fascinated with, that I thought it was really interesting and different. And then I think over the last 6 years, I think I just got kind of burnt out on the costumes because I felt like, first of all, it's a lot of work. A lot of work. And I think there was like this fine line of me creating something and trying to make a statement, and then at some point it started to become me kind of hiding behind something a little bit. It's a bit of a mask. Like I started overcompensating a little bit. At the time, I think I was very overwhelmed with everything, and I still wasn't totally comfortable with the idea of like, okay, now people are looking at me, and wow, now everybody has an opinion because they know who I am, and not everybody likes it. And so that kind of put me on the defensive. So I put a lot of feathers on. More glitter. And then I started kind of feeling like, after I had some time to kind of settle before like about 2 years ago, when the first album kind of started to like happen or not happen, I started realizing, okay, can I just wear what I would like wear like regularly? Because I don't dress in all that crap when I like do normal everyday things. So
you don't go to the market in feathers?
No. Okay. So like I started like realizing, I'm like, wait a minute, why am I putting on costumes all the time? Why can't I just wear my street clothes? Like, what is this? I don't know. I just had like an epiphany, and I was like, I'm over this feather business. So yeah, that's how that happened. But when I went back on tour with Queen, I was like, wait a minute. If I'm gonna do, even though I had kind of had this like sort of unofficial makeover, I was like, if I'm gonna get on stage and do the music that Freddie Mercury made famous, I have to be a little ridiculous. And
so the
so I got
studded
some
leather
costumes.
jacket.
Yeah, I got some
and
costumes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had to. It was Queen. You can't get up on stage and do Queen like dressed in like a pair of jeans. It just doesn't work.
There you go. Unless they're very, very tight jeans.
Yeah, or lots of feathers on them.
Feathers.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. So on that fashion note, we're going to end it here. Adam, thank you very much.
Thank you.